And before we get to our moment of positivity, which is how I finish every single episode, do you have any advice for actors in Albuquerque, or maybe actors that are starting
Yes.
and new in their career or heading out to Albuquerque? Albuquerque, anything must know, must do's before things get going? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, um, pre-COVID, what I would tell anyone who was coming here to New Mexico, I would say take 4 or 5 days, get an Airbnb in a neighborhood you think you might live, and pretend you're a resident. Hey, do you love Thai food? Is there a Thai food here restaurant here in New Mexico that you would like, so that if you lived here, you're not saying like, "Oh, I love New Mexico, but they have no Thai food," right? If there's things that you love, if you are a surfer and that's your dream and you love it, maybe New Mexico's not your thing, but come here and get a lay of the land, find other neighborhoods, kind of live here and pretend, okay, cost of living is great. Um, you know, the food here is good. There is fine arts. I can have a life here. There's hiking and whatever those things that make you have balance in your life wherever you are. If you can get that balance here, then strongly consider it. But if you come here and you're like, man, it's just still too much of a small town for me, and it's I mass they don't have enough mass transit, and I'm coming from a market where I didn't have to have a car and I'd have to buy a car. Maybe those are some things that are more of a deal breaker than you think.
Yeah, you still have to live. I
But
mean, you don't audition every day,
you
so
still have
you
to
have to
live
kind of
here.
like where you actually live.
Yeah, and I always say don't come here without representation or a meeting for representation first, because then you're here and you're not able to go out on auditions because you don't have representation. You don't really know the town, and because you don't have representation, you're not going to audition. You're not meeting friends, right? You're kind of in this void until you get representation, and you're just kind of away from family and friends until you can start to start networking and those things kind of balance out. And you want to be like, hey, I'll meet friends, but I've got the agent, so at least I'll start going on auditions and I can meet people, or I can get a sense of the thing, right? There's that. So um, make sure you have that meeting. Research any agent. We want them to look at our stuff. Make sure you know their roster. Personalize those things. That goes a long way here in New Mexico, just like we were talking about the talent in general. Um, but for us, one of the things we were able to buy a house here. Our mortgage is what our rent was for our one bedroom in LA. So, that was a pretty good sell right off the bat for me, all other things considered. We have a thriving theater scene here in New Mexico. So it's like, well, if I don't have an agent, but I can at least be creative, maybe that's enough to get you here until you do get representation. So really research it. Just don't say, hey, it's Netflix. Yes, Netflix is here, but we don't have enough agents to handle the influx of talent. Then you're not going to go anywhere anyway. And you might as well stay where you have representation or have that support.
Right. So you guys have a lot to think about before you make any
Yes.
decisions.